Welcome to another episode of Progress Always. Mike Anders here, and it's always our intention to help our audience eliminate stress by prioritizing their health and fitness and creating alignment. I'm here with my friend, biohacker extraordinaire, the founder of the BioMed Center, Dr. Jeoff Drobot. Brother, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me here.
We were introduced by Dr. Sean Drake. He's been on the show before. And when we ran out of some structural options to fix my knee, my sleep, and some of the other issues that we had identified that were chronic and systemic, he was like, you've got to go see Dr. Drobot. And as we connected, what I love about our relationship is, one, we have an open line of communication in which I can send our tribe, our clients up to you for things that are outside of our scope. And then you and I are able to have a constructive conversation as to what the appropriate client care then looks like. And what I love about your approach is, from a medical perspective, you look at things from an aspect of performance. What is the absolute function that this patient client wants in terms of successful outcomes? And that is almost the exact opposite of conversations that a guy like me is having in Western medicine at a place like the VA, where I'm trying to convince my caretakers and practitioners as to what success looks like to me, that's above and beyond successfully getting up and down off the toilet without injury, and luckily enough, I got my knee reconstructed by 4'3" defensive back from BYU who became a surgeon. So him and I were able to also have a really amazing conversation as to what a successful outcome on the backside of a total knee replacement looks like. So, from where I want to lead with this question, because I find it rare, and I see a lot of doctors just over the course of my career and in my current rehabilitative condition. It's rare. Where does the perspective of performance come from in your practice?
I mean, probably, when I started, so I guess we'll go a million years ago, and we'll say, like, where did I start? Because people, I have lots of doctors as patients, and then I teach a lot. And then my background was exercise physiology. So, like, when we're looking at that, we have to understand that, if you come in with biology into medicine, you'll probably leave biology and physiology. You'll probably leave with biology and physiology. If you come in just with prerequisites, you'll probably leave with pharmaceuticals and specialization. So, like, my path was a little interesting in the sense that when I did exercise physiology, at the end of that 4 years or a science degree, I was like, what the F, right? Like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I sure got a lot of lingo down. I knew anatomy, and I never had trouble in school. So then the next thing is they were like, hey, you're going to medical school. And I was like, like in Canada, so I'm Canadian, socialized medicine is not highly attractive because that you're going to go into this you're basically prescribing 10 things. And so, my mom was a great lady who raised me. She was a nursing professor, and she raised us, in this holistic kind of lifestyle, which was interesting at the time and now mainstream. She was like, maybe you want to go look at the States and kind of look at these DOs programs or these ND programs, which were a lot more, you would learn you'd still be a primary care physician. So you learn pharmacology, but you'd also learn vitamins. And so I was looking at that from an athletics perspective. And then once that 4 years of medical school got done, you realize, like, didn't really get a lot, like not what I wanted to anyways. And I didn't know what the appetite was, but I knew, like, I just wanted to learn more than, like, now I knew how to VO2 max. Now I knew, like, how to prescribe stuff, but I was just, like, in my head, I remember like Rocky IV and the Ivan Drago, and I was like, where's the guy, right? Like, I thought this is what I'm doing, right? I'm raising these like beasts. Like, where's all the wires connected on these cats? Like, where are we going to do that? And so that I went back and forth to Germany a bunch of times in Europe. And then you start to learn like reverse medicine in the sense that they look at something called biological medicine, or they look at physiology, and then they layer pharmacology, and they have a whole bunch of systems of medicine. But the discipline was never, and in fitness, it's like never forget the movement, like forget the weight and forget the speed, but don't forget the movement, right? Other than that, you're never going to be successful. And in medicine, we forget the movement and we just go to the end result, right? Just the speed, and whatever it looks like, that's what it looks like. And so as I started to learn and use tech, and way before this was cool or called biohacking, right? This was just called weird, right? But I had clinics in Canada, and I bring these weird things back from Europe and Russia and Asia, and I would collect these things in my clinic, and then I'd do testing on them. And then you started to realize like this pharmacology or some of this stuff is a very small piece of it. When you're actually testing the animal, like the mammal in front of you, like everybody has a liver, everybody has a nervous system, everybody had hormones. So when you start to realize, like, if you're just going to specialize in hormones, you might bat 15%, right? And everybody will pat you on the back for the first 6 months. And then you realize like, oh, geez, all I can do is raise that dose, or I'm starting to get side effects. And if I only did, digestive stuff, which are food sensitive, it was like all these little things, which were big pieces. Like, you can still go online and you can find whole like YouTube channels on these small pieces of things, like digestive biomes, right? Like, we have all these words now, red light therapy. And I'm thinking like, how freaking boring. Like, if they actually knew the guy that invented it and they'd have a beer with him, they'd be like, there's not a lot here, right? The guy just said, turn it on, right? Get in front of it. And we're like making this sensational approach to it. And then you start to back out into realizing that these are a bunch of tools, right? Drugs are a tool, hormones are a tool, these, we'll say tech is a tool, and then you have to have all of it. And then you realize that once you have all of it, it really breaks it down into the simplicity of like, look, if I deal with the nervous system, if I do this system medicine and say the digestive tract is connected to the nervous system, that's connected to the hormone system, that's connected to fascia, like once I do that, you get amazing results because you didn't specialize medicine. And I mean, doctors now that I'm talking to, and I feel so bad for them because they got into a specialty in medicine, because that's what we got sold in medical school. Like, you don't want to be a general physician. There's not a lot of money in it. You want to go and spend more money to be a specialist. And you know where that works? It works in law, right? And remember, the two noble professions used to be medicine and law. Oh, your dad's a doctor, your dad's a lawyer. Now people hate doctors and lawyers, right? They can't stand it because they're always screwing you after COVID. But those used to be noble professions. And those were like, the more you specialize, the fancier you are, because like, if you're a general attorney, but man, if you actually specialize in something, you're a partner in like some kind of criminal attorney, like, you make money. And so we attributed like, that's what we sold to our students. And then people just kind of got their eyes into saying, I'm just going to try to get to the end result, which was unfortunate because, we kind of wrecked medicine with that specialty part. And so the short answer to that long segue was like, I went all around the world, right? And I bought a bunch of junk, and I managed to get some good stuff out of it. And that was a time where they let you show up with a backpack, and nobody was really like competitive. They're just like, who's this stupid Canadian kid with a backpack on? Like, we didn't have social media to check out who had more followers. So they're like, hey, I'm happy that this guy showed up here, right? Because nobody wants to adopt us in medicine. So this guy, and again, my exercise phys degree helped. And just the adoption of some of what these guys did, and then to come and apply it to athletes and then the general public, and just having the ability to do it from a performance aspect and a pathological perspective, and saying, I guess Mike still has a liver, and I guess this stage 4 person has a liver. So if we make both of their livers better, they're both better. Like, surprise, and then that was it. And medicine is like, you can't give that to that person because you'll make them sick. And this was like, what if you make both livers better? And then the person's better as a whole. So I don't think we'll ever teach it in medicine because it like requires, like, again, a level of expertise in anatomy and exercise physiology and just basic biology. And then you'd have to learn all these disciplines, and then you'd have to put them together. And you just have to like know about the body, which is always a freaky thing in medicine to think that we don't, right? Like, if you were just like, the guy that did your knee has no idea how your nose works. And I mean, you think like in medicine, like I see these guys that come and fix my computer and I marvel at them because I'm like, they know everything about my computer. And that thing changes. My body doesn't, right? In medicine, if we put 4 solid years into learning like really a craft, you know who does it? Veterinarians. Veterinarians do it because their patients don't talk. So like they really put time, they touch their animals, they do this stuff. You put your dog through a whole bunch of tests that are expensive, but they don't just listen to your dog talk and give them something in 5 minutes. I mean, they still go through the process of like palpation and actual investigation, and they just try to make your dog better, right? They try to medicate your dog, they try to make your dog better. So I think if we had the tools to go back in medicine and really say, you have to be a specialist in all of it, right? Really what you have to be a specialist in is biology. Because if you don't know how that works, forget about pharmacology, and then forget about psychology and all these other things that we kind of included in medicine that have now become like an Instagram story, I guess, like with we're just taking meditation breaks and doing all these things. Like there's so many things you have to do to stay healthy. It's unbelievable now to me because like it's a freaking job. And people show up and they got the healthiest stuff, or you see pro athletes and I see them and people are like, that guy's an Adonis. And I'm like, that guy's a wreck when you lift up the hood, but that's okay. Because when you have a bunch of tools and physiology, you realize like we're all wrecks, right? Mm-hmm. Not a big deal, right? The environment has put a pace on us that we will not catch. And like the person that just gets smart and knows that and tries to limit it and doesn't chase their health because it never used to, right? Never had to chase your health. It just was innate and it was yours to wreck. And now, unfortunately, it's the opposite, right? If you leave it and you let it idle, the environment wrecks it. I mean, electronics wreck it. I mean, just the pace of life wrecks it. And then, unfortunately, we have to put an effort into it where, we didn't used to before.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. Well, first of all, are you a car guy?
No, I'm the opposite of car guy. I'm a like I can barely drive a car, but because I have no, I wasn't born with a compass. So my wife will tell you this, like if, you were in the military, like my worst fear would be as if you dropped me somewhere and just said, like, go north and pick me up at the LZ. And I'd be like, oh God, like that's the worst. I've got a lot of skills. I'm going to tell you that is 0. And so when I say like maybe -10, like an Eagle Scout, always said the worst job I'd ever have was like a taxi driver when they didn't have GPS. Cause like I have something happened in my head. Like I'm somewhere not on gravity that like I got nothing. So cars are a similar thing where there's a lot of direction to it. And like I can iron and I'll cook like you never believe. But like, if you want me to change an oil, I don't know what it is, but there's just something manly. I don't got it.
Well, the reason I asked is because, and my clients that are also your patients, we've all come to this agreement that you must be a car guy because you speak layman medicine with a lot of automobile analogies. And I don't even know if you're conscious of that, but it makes sense. It lands and it helps morons like me understand.
Yeah, I'll get down into things that people, because if I start speaking in wizardry, and I used to, and people would be like, I'm out of here. And I'd be like, okay, well, let me just tell you how your fridge works. And you're like, your fridge. And they're like, now we're talking my language. So it's hard because, again, in medicine, like, he had 5 minutes. Right? Like, what are you going to say? Like, that guy that did your knee, you know, a real person, well, that wasn't you, would have 10 minutes with that guy that opened up your knee. Right? And then you'd be like, okay, I guess this is like, there's no relationship. There's no shoemaker to that. So you went, and then you go right into the PT and you'd be out. And so you didn't have that, like, that experience resonated with you because you spoke to a doctor that you had a relation to. And again, when I was young, you still had just one family doctor. And that guy knew me from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so he could see the things that were changing. They'd ask questions. And even before that, what used to be interesting is that doctor used to go to your house, right? He was your employee. It was called, you know, your family doctor that would make house calls. And then, you know, we got out of that. And so now medicine is, like I said, everybody hates doctors and lawyers because, like, it's been a lot of shirking of care and time. And a lot of that is insurance companies and other things we don't have control over.
Yeah, you know, not to put my tinfoil hat on and play conspiracy theorist, but I'm interested in your opinion because I think the stat line is only the US and New Zealand are the only westernized societies that legally endorse the advertisement of pharmaceuticals. And
It's a hard thing.
I'm curious in your practice, you know, because I feel like we're going to jump around here real quick. People, right? People come to the naturopathic side as a last resort, as opposed to the first line of care in stereotypical American society. And I'm curious, in your practice, is it a common occurrence that people come to you with this preemptive diagnosis because of WebMD or some pharmaceutical they saw advertised, and they give you that laundry list of shit that's wrong with you, that could be wrong with you, that this medicine, this pharmaceutical fixes? And you're like, ooh, I have 7 of those 9 things.
Yeah.
Hey doc, again, do you think I should be on Ozempic?
Yeah. It's hard because if they have to understand, like, there's not that many parts in your body, right? So there's not that many ways that it can express itself. And so when you get 50 symptoms, every organ can have those 50 symptoms. Like, there's only pain, hot, cold, high or low. Like, it's amazing because we can figure this out, right? Without, like, having to scratch our heads too much. It's like, look, a ball rolls like forwards and backwards and to the side and to some angles, but that's it. And so your body can do these things. And when, you know, we have these, it's clever because association is always a great thing when you're doing word association on TV. And I think people understand, like, they look at pharmaceuticals as like, they vilify pharmaceuticals. And I have lots of great patients high up in pharmaceuticals, and it's a business. And the business is like, if we didn't have those pharmaceutical ads, we could not pay for somebody in a rollover accident on the 101, right? Like, we have to understand that money is not, like, medicine isn't making money. Drugs are making money. And so that's a tool. It's a business. It's like a sponsor, right? It's like somebody is going to sponsor the Super Bowl, and then that's what's going to happen, right? You're going to make money off of that. Unfortunately, we as physicians were supposed to only put them on those prescriptives for 3 weeks until we found out what the problem was. And again, no pharmaceutical does not say that. Always says at the end, consult your physician if symptoms persist. And you're like, what? Like, I'm not supposed to be on this for a long period of time. So it's still like, when people are armed with information now, because again, you never used to question your doctor when I started medical school, right? Because again, that would have been a bad thing, right? Noble profession. You're like, no, Dr. Drobot, you're wrong. And I would have been like, what? Like, I got my white coat on, like, I'm staring you down. Like, what are you talking about? And now, because they pulled out this rinky photocopied little piece of paper and they said, this is not what I want to take. And now man, they pull out their phone and they give it to these guys and gals. And again, I have a bunch of like doctors as patients, and they're just like targets, right? Just targets, because every patient has a fight. And I say, well, why don't you do something different so you don't have to have the same fight? Like, oh, they don't want to go on a statin. Well, neither do you, right? Like, they don't want dementia. Like, what are you talking about? Like, this isn't like, these are normal things. You're trying to put the person on something. They read the side effects and say, I don't think that's attractive. And then you're supposed to come up with a different thing. Like, hey, you don't like that haircut? Let's open the catalog up and find one you do like. And we just don't have another one. And so I think that's the large part. And trust me, Dr. Google is doing a great job, right? It's building this band of people, but then we don't have an alternative for them in conventional medicine. And it's interesting when you go to like communist places and they say Chinese medicine, like acupuncture, is standard of care and pharmaceuticals are alternative medicine, right? Like you don't get alternative medicine. So then we, dumb North Americans were like, well, this is alternative medicine. And like, oh man, you got billions of people saying this is standard of care. And like that drug is alternative medicine because it's expensive and governments don't want to pay for it. So if you really put it all together, and I think if you unpack medicine and performance, that'll be interesting in the next 10 years because it's doing it by itself, right? Like COVID helped a whole bunch because we just poked a bunch of people that didn't want to be poked and now everybody's outraged. And so and then nobody trusted medicine. So they really got studying health, which was interesting, right? It's an interesting movement because people would never look up their health before until they're like, what am I putting in my body as they're slurping back a Big Mac? And they're like, well, that's what you put in. Hey, Bubba, like that might go in your arm, but that's going in your stomach. And then, so I think it did something good. I'm not sure what it did yet besides build animosity between medicine and the general public. But I think, it's coming out of it. So conspiracy theories, I mean, they're vast, but people definitely are spending more time interested in their health. There's just no playbook for it. Like they don't have, like with your computer, like with your Mac that we're on, you can open it up and you can just learn things like systematically. And it's tough because people don't know even like what their teeth do, right? What are your teeth made of? And then you'd have to go down, and it's not a big course in physiology to just figure out like, and you'd never have to learn about like a liver 2.0 because it just is that. But like, there's no, there's no level. Like when you said cars, like those mechanics, those dudes that do that in their garage, like they could go and pick this body up in a matter of 6 months. And they'd probably be the best doctors in the world, right? Because they're already systematically looking at parts. And if I hear a squeak here, I go here and change this valve out. And that's just what medicine needs. They need a bunch of those guys and gals that break shit down. And then they figure out how to put it back. But unfortunately, like you can't go to AutoZone and get a new liver, right? So got to take care of the ones you got.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, and I want to use myself as a case study here because you got me up to speed to something that I didn't even know was possible when we got under my hood and started seeing what was going on. And I was completely unaware that you could peak your cortisol, your stress hormone, and redline your testosterone simultaneously. And that's the circumstance that I found myself in. I was sleeping like shit. My gut health was awful. And at the same time, I'm at peak performance and peak stress. And you would think that those things are on a scale. So if
inverse, you think it'd be inverse, right? Like, I mean, there's a lot of things that happen at 1 second in physiology, like 50,000 chemical reactions a second, and it's all like, it's just built to survive. So to think like something's not able to do, like I can move my right and left hand like this, and like everything can. We'd be dead if it couldn't, right? Like I can chew gum and walk at the same time. Like nothing is in isolation. Your brain is pretty amazing. So when you come in and again, you look at things and people are like, man, that guy's going to have elevated testosterone. I'm like, no, that person's going to have none, right? Because you can see, like, I can look at an athlete and we can do nervous system testing. You know that it's not infinite, and you will put it back up there. And that's what happens before both of them fall to nothing. You know, it's very like, this is pretty linear. I wish everybody was so different, because man, would that like be a more interesting day. I mean, but after you like look at enough animals, like goldfish look like goldfish, right? I don't know, like some look a little different, I guess. Some swim faster, but we're mammals. Like, I don't know, like you got somebody with 3 legs, because I'd love to see them, because man, that'd be a better Tuesday. But I see a bunch of people with 2 arms and 2 legs, and usually effed up in the head. And it's like, yeah, you did it to yourself. Like, you want to undo it right now? Okay. And they're like, I'm not going to do that. And then I say, well, you have to, right? Like, that's where we're at. So the good thing is, you know, people say like, how do you get your patients to do? It's like, look, I'm referral, you know, like I take no joy in my successes or blame in my failures. Like, look, well, this is the way we run it. And if you like have a better, I'm always learning, and like I'm practicing on people. That's called the practice of medicine. And man, I've screwed a lot. Like, I've screwed enough up that I'm pretty good. And so like, if you come, like, you understand, like, I'm not going to make you do 50,000 things, but we are going to do the 5 things that are holding back, you know, the other 49,955, and then away we go. So it's like, it's still like, and you can't get performance until you get normal. Or like your knee, let's take your knee, right? We're not playing racquetball next week, right? We've got to get that, which we'll call pathology or inflammation, to normal, and then normal to performance, and then performance to longevity, right? And performance and longevity are not synonymous, because usually performance means you're like just ripping the crap out of yourself. You know, like we talk about, let's go from movement to fitness to sport to combat sport. And none of those are the same, right? In your business, it's like, look, you're pretty good with like flexibility and movement. And once you get into sport and combat sport, and then what I'll call sacrificial sport, which is like contact sport, you know, you see those people. It's like, look, you're going to give up a lot to get something. And then this guy is going to try to put it back to normal, so that we always will go through a level of, you know, what are we going to do in life, right? We don't want disease. We want normal. And then we go to optimal, and then we go to performance, and then back down to optimal, and then to longevity. So, you know, it's movement, but it's not that, you know, it's not that individualized.
I want to touch on what you said, you know, because we use these grandiose terms, and a lot of times inappropriately. And what you said right there really struck me. We got to get you normal before we can talk about performance. And on my side of the line, my peers and I oftentimes talk about upgrading the human body and optimizing it, and use these buzzwords, right, in our community.
Hype words, hypes.
And what you're talking about is like that optimal performance that we're talking about. That's what normal is supposed to feel like.
Yeah. If you want to do performance, you know, like, you would have to feel good about doing it. You know, I always hear like, I'm going to kill it today. And then like, I'm sleeping like shit. I'm like, what did you do? Right? I don't get it. Right? Because again, like, I've seen all these little tricks, and like, this guy is so great. Like, he's doing this shit. And I'm like, the fuck gives a shit about that CrossFit score? Like, the guy can't even sleep at night. Like, his body is in absolute terror. And then, you know, I don't have to do anything, because I hook you up to machines, right? And it's a very, like, nobody argues with machines anymore, right? Machines are smarter than humans. So, I mean, you just hook them up to a machine. You're like, D+, Baba. Like, what do you want me to tell you? Like, you're not getting past this, because you can't. And my pro athletes, we have millions of dollars on the line, tens of millions. And it's like, we are never getting to optimal in pro athletes, right? Like we're just trying to just get better where we're at because we're pretty good and we're trying to not get hurt and we're trying to not get out of the league, but we're not building past that. And in normal people, it's like, we're going to upgrade, and then we're always going to like biohack and upgrade stuff. And I'm like, what? Like, what is it? Like, like maybe you just need to not do something and it might just do something itself. And that's always the tricky thing when you look at all of these different areas, sometimes like it's not adding something, sometimes it's taking something out, or changing something. And fitness only has one gear, right? Like more, faster, better. And then you see like sometimes that person's not a greyhound, right? And then there was, I always say this, like, because fitness is always funny in the sense that there's no off season, right? Like we just keep crushing it. Like I look at your Instagram every day and you're like, oh, here it goes again, right? Like hip ups. Then we're gonna do some leg, and I'm like, where's the 2 months off? Whereas like his nervous system's gonna run. No days off, right? And I'm like, oh, that's stupid, right? Like, because you can't build on something, like it loses elasticity, right? Like you just grind it to the point that like you train it, but it never gets a chance to like learn the language. You just keep teaching it every single day. And I guess it gets stronger. And we kind of got that from European, like we got this from this communist philosophy. And then we forgot like, oh, they just did that for 2 hours a day and then didn't do anything, right? The government paid them to do this work and they didn't have another job. And then we see us bozos in North America fitting something in at 5:15 in the morning. And then we're like, oh, but they have to go to another job. And so the volume was, we got these from these European coaches or these, communist coaches who were like, more is better and faster. And then you realize like 22 hours a day, these guys are getting I seen it. Like these guys are getting pampered and injected. And it was like, they had this massive rest cycle and they had a bunch of intensity of work that looked impressive. And then for whatever reason, because they were just kicking everybody's ass in the Olympics, we said, we got to figure out what they do. And it's like, yeah, you know what they do? They pluck you out when you're 8 years old and they say, this is your job, right? That's it. And they say, your family's coming with us and we're taking care of everybody. And so I think we missed that. Somehow we became like, no days off became like, just fit it in your day.
That's such a good point. And I want you to scream it louder for the people in the cheap seats. Because I people will come in with these things that they find in the big grand Google machine and like, ooh, what do you think about this strength cycle? I'm like, how much anabolics are you going to take to survive that? Like the bottom line says, 3 sets of 8 at 90%.
Yeah. Like, how do you want your disc? What do you want your disc to look like at 60 years old? And I'm all in for getting t-shirts, right? Like there's times that people come in and they're like a regular Joe, right? Like, and they want to go and get this t-shirt for doing whatever it is, like for 3 months, and they're going to go and get it. And I like that, right? Like get hungry and do something, because like you can't be faulted for having like a goal and a mission, right? Like whatever it is, go and get it. Like I said, get the t-shirt. But I'm putting you on hormone to go get that, because like you've got to deal with the rest of your life after you do it. So like when we're doing performance stuff, again, if it's not even normal and you go and put a load on something, like it's not going to end up like, look at your bank account and say, I want to spend this much on this vacation, and understand you're going to come back from vacation. And then think about what your bank account's going to look like. And like sometimes it's like we just need to fund that. So we never have, when we're looking at hormones or peptides and biohacking, we're doing all this stuff. You just have to realize like if what you're going into anything with can be optimized, forget about the stigma around it, because you don't get hooked on it. But understand like your whole goal in life is put it back to just riding normally, because it does a pretty good job. Like physiology, it's still, you can go to 80, 85 if you just like relax and take it easy. Europeans prove this, right? Everybody proves it. And like physiology runs pretty good, but if you're going to go and put a dent in it, then you got to undo it. And I think that's where we have a dirty conversation, right? Like in fitness, especially, it's a dirty conversation. They're like, you're going to cheat. And it's like, no, you're going to be smart now, right? Because unless you show me that you can do it, I'm going to tell you not to. You know me. Like, I'm going to be like, hey, like I've been in this business for too long. And especially like in the show business of fitness, like it's tough because to maintain that physique and to do what you need to do to be strong and actually look good, it's a hormone toil now. And doing cycles or doing stuff, and I'm not talking about terrible stuff. I'm talking about like you could use supplements or you can use rest or you could use whatever it is, but we just have to make sure that you're able to do it and continue to do it.
How does that conversation typically go? Because you're out of network, quote unquote, for the most part, and which would presuppose that somebody has to be able to afford your care.
Yes.
Which would also presuppose that you deal with a certain type of person, not just athletes, but high performers in general. Right? Who don't like to be told no, and more importantly, don't like to be told to do less. So how is that? Because you and I had that conversation. Hey, Bubba, if you want to come back to homeostasis, you're gonna have to do a whole lot fucking less than you're doing. And which, interestingly enough, segued into a very thoughtful and what I felt was constructive conversation around the way I operate my business. It's like, dude, you need to go build that team because right now you've taken it as far as you can go on your own, and your hormones tell me that. You don't know you know nothing about how at the time how I operate next level. And you can look at my hormone profile and let me know that it's probably not as good as it could be, right? So,
well, you get to see that, like with anybody, you get to see what you spend. Like biology doesn't give you what you have. Like it always will tell you if you know how to look at it. Like there's no crystal ball to say you're gonna live to be 75 if you are vegan. But I can tell you, like, you spent 75 years of that. And so it's tricky because, if we're looking at being successful in whatever, I don't care what it is, right? Mental, emotionally, physically. It's like you need to have like decent biology to be able to do that. There's nobody with low hormones that feels happy. I can say that just from a like strict mammal, right? You may be able to like, again, I laugh at these new age things because they're so old age for me, considering I took meditation classes when I was 5, right? But we have all these new things, right? And it's like, look, like you cannot talk yourself. You might be able to into thinking that you're happy or like you're going to go get it today and you feel like shit. It's like either you are or you're not, but you're not going to be successful. And in entrepreneurship, right? It's a grind. Like we get taught this, like it's so stupid, right? It's like, it's a grind. It's kind of like in sports. It's like, keep doing it. And I'll tell you, the best athletes that I see, like come in with low miles on their cars to pro sports. Like they just happen to like get there. And the guys that were good that are really, they fizzle out fast. But again, the grind like is unbelievable nowadays because like you have this technology. So people come in and they're like, I'm going to go and open up 75 franchises. And I'm like, I'm going to bet against you. And like everybody's with them. And I'm like, I'm going to show you this, but I'm betting against you. And it's not to say like, I'm not motivating you, right? By betting against you, I'm saying I'm betting against you. And like, here's the reason I'm betting against you. And it's just like, there's no challenge. There's no competitiveness. It's like it's like, look, if you just did this in a slightly different way and got and collected this and gave us a little time, an off season per se, physically or mentally or whatever it is, right? I know this. People that are tired and grind are not going to come to an epiphany of physical or mental. Like that's bullshit. And if we have to do like ayahuasca or whatever, go ahead. Eat as many mushrooms as you want to, but you're not going to build cortisol back by doing it. And I'm just sitting here like, go for a spirit walk again. Like, I don't know. I'm just betting against you. And so when we tell, like, you don't need money to know physiology. You don't need money to fix physiology. You just need to have some form of medicine and look and be like, my testosterones are in the bottom 30%. I should just look at that as a bank account or my cortisols. Unfortunately, we don't test. But like the medication, none of this stuff that we need is overall expensive, right? None of it is. It would just be like looking at recipes and saying, you're out of flour, go get some flour. Like, and we should probably be able to do that. Unfortunately, there's no course that teaches that. But if you could actually learn physiology, you'd be like, okay, I'm low. You know what testosterone or something like that costs a month? You know what DHEA costs a month? $20. Like, give me a break, right? Like, but the application is the importance of it. And nobody, like, there's a few people that challenge me, I guess. Like, I get to have a lot of interesting conversations, but it's like, no big deal. Like, I'm not in competition with you. I'm just saying I wouldn't be with you. Right? Like, you're not the horse that I'd be backing. And that, for some people, when they calm down finally and say, I'm not challenging you, I'm just not with you. Right? And that's okay. I like you. I'm just not betting on you because it's already a scramble. And so you're telling me you're going to put on 3 times the amount of work? Like, it's impossible. So I think when, people always like, if I do this and if I just force meditation in for 20 minutes a day, I'm enlightened. And I'm like, well, why don't we just back up for a second, look at the picture like you did, right? And then I got to say to you, hey, like, I know a little bit about that industry. Like, you should probably rearrange because, like, it's important for your business, but it's more important for your health. Mm-hmm. Because, like, your business is going to be your business. You could probably do that for the rest of the time, but your health can't. And then you always start to say that, like you did, you realize, like, hey, when I step away or when I look at this, it's not probably good for my health. It's not really interesting for me personally. And I know I can't grow it. And then that's all you needed. Usually that was your grandpa that put his arm around you and was like, yeah, like, you're working really hard, but that gets you nowhere. And then nobody cries. They just kind of say, all right, well, we were supposed to have that little adjustment. And again, you know what time that used to be? The winter time would come every year and they'd shut everybody down. Right. And you'd be like, what the hell am I going to do in spring? And then your body says, as a kid, you're going to grow. Right. And then you say, oh, I'm going to grow. Okay, then I'm going to go do something else. And we just had no hibernation. There was no time for thinking and there was no time for physical rest. And so people don't get better. They just get busier. And like health always just kind of devolves because we don't ever have a winter time anymore, which is unfortunate. And there's like people like you that teach people like, slowing down does not mean slowing down. Like, slowing down means focusing on something different. Like in athletics, we say, oh, the guy could slow the game down. And that doesn't mean it was worse. Like, that means it's easier. Make life easier.
Yeah. It was a really empowering and enlightening conversation. And it has 100% led to the way we coach our clients now. And a lot of, because we obviously, because we share such a significant portion of our client pool together, have that conversation around, hey, when we're talking about optimizing, which is really just getting you back to normal, let's do less. We can be more efficient about this. What if we installed some productive boundaries? It's okay to say no. You do not need to take on everything. What if you delegated some of that? What if you didn't go to that meeting? And we start having conversations like that from the outside looking in have fuck all to do with fitness and nutrition. And all of a sudden, one of my favorite client stories, she bought in and she did less. And in a week, upon doing less, and we're not talking about eating differently or training differently. We haven't even gotten there yet. She lost 10 pounds because she came back to normal, or she was at least on her way back to normal.
Yeah, she stopped swelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard thing because, again, in the fitness, people got like, I'm going to get the most for my money, right? Like, I think the gym membership spoiled people, right? Like, I'm going to get the most for my money. And so I need to go in there. And in your business, it's hard because you want number of sessions. But I told you in that business, like concierge fitness is still where it's at, where it's like, look, why work somebody out 7 days a week when they can get results doing it 3 days? Like, they will pay you twice as much money to do it in half the amount of time. So they have time to do other stuff. Like, I don't know, in fitness, we're like, that person really loves coming here 7 days a week. Fuck that. And nobody likes doing that 7 days a week. If I could get the same results doing it 3 days a week, and if people say, I do this for my mental clarity, then it's like something's wrong with your mental state. Right? If you need a stress to undo a stress, then we're like, if you need lions chasing you every day for you to feel good, we got a problem, right? You're not comfortable. And so sometimes it's just, and I hope, like, medicine is never going to get there, but fitness will get there. Fitness will get there in the sense that we understand that physiology has like a stimulus response cycle. And I think that's still like everybody's overstimulated. So it's not the same as it was because like everybody is so mentally stimulated that it's hard to add the physical stimulation and get, your body to only do something with the physical stuff because it imagines it's in 24 hours of stress cycles. Everybody has that. So it's really hard because you want to drop that in there,
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that because that's that realization for us was a huge impetus for building out the recovery side of our thing, of our
100%.
Because what I realize is that people want to be at next level 7 days a week.
Yeah,
but they don't need
to club.
But they don't need to train 7 days a week. So come on in, and guess what? Today you're not going to train. We're going to put you in the sauna. Yeah. You're going to do red light. Yeah. You need compression today. You just need an opportunity, regardless of the stimulus, whether it's 175 degrees or you got lights in your face or something squeezing on your legs a little bit. You need an opportunity to simply be still.
Correct. Like everybody needs, like fitness needed to turn into like everybody needs to hit the bar on the way home just to see Carl, like for like an hour. And that's good. Like you don't need to like do anything, but you need to hit the bar on the way home. And you're just like, that used to be a regular part of work, right? Like I need to do this to be with my community because it helps me think and it helps me process, right? Like humans are pack animals. We just do not obey that, right? Like we need to have our dens where we go to and we're like, there's Carl, there's the guy again. And that doesn't mean we need to beat the crap out of each other, sprinting all over the place. As you said, like 50% of it's recovery, 50% of it's stimulation. And now I'm going to say, because the world has gotten into an interesting spot, like if you test nervous systems as much as I do, there's not that much space in it. Like, so you have to make it count. And then you have to create enough recovery where you get elasticity, where you can go get physiology to go and stimulate again. So it's like fitness is turning into as much recovery as it is stimulation, because you get better. It didn't used to be like that because we got into this whole, but we had so much ability to do it. And like you watch TV until 10 and went to bed, right? And there wasn't a bunch of Wi-Fi waking you up and like you couldn't take pictures of Korea and imagine what you're going to do. Like you had to go these places. And so like you could really get some stuff done. But even then, people were like, well, this is what, again, I bring back Ivan Drago. This is what he was doing. It's like, no, he wasn't. I'm going to tell you that what they were doing was shit tons of drugs and a lot of rest and a little bit of stimulation. But it worked out best because like we do that with racehorses. Like you think we take these $10 million horses and run them around every day? Like we do not. Right? We stimulate them a little bit and then we give them lots of rest. So you're going to see that recovery, is so much more important in the next decade if people want some performance, because again, we can't get to normal. Like optimal means, you got to get some kind of stimulus, right? If we can, but we've got to have the ability to increase like times. We can't get normal is more required right now to get people to come back to normal. And that means undoing a lot of noise in the nervous system and getting them to recover, because it's almost impossible now to do it at your house, like by yourself. I just don't know many people that do it, you know, and I'm not saying that practice like silence or do anything like that. Like, I don't know many people like that, like take an off day with their phone, you know, and we'll call them digital detox days, right? Where it's just like, don't use your phone on a Sunday and just see the way you feel at the end of the day. If that bothers you, then we've got a problem, right? If you like, I can put my phone away and like the world goes away, right? And because again, there's nothing I'm tracking, right? So there's like, besides some sports scores, like I'm watching animals shows, right? Like I got no shows. Like I'm really an idiot. Like just like I like to walk around and look at things. And I'm like, there's nothing that happens on my phone that's updating me on anything besides fantasy football. Like that's what I got. So like I'll put my phone away and somebody be like, where were you? At my house. Right? Like you don't like, I'm not at work. Like athletes are like, well, you didn't get my phone call. Yeah, because I'm not answering it. Right? Like my ringer's on silent, bro. Like I'm not ignoring you. I had no idea that you were even calling. Like my staff knows when I leave at 4:30, forget it. Right. And I'm not purposely doing that. I just put my phone away because like, I don't need it. Right. Like I still live by the old, like we go home and we put our phones on like busy signals. So we eat dinner. Like, I don't know what it is, but there's not a need for that. And again, being like, a solopreneur or whatever we're going to say, like there was this association. But if you like step away from your phone for 6 hours or exercise for 2 days, and if that's uncomfortable, we're not going to get a benefit from it, because like your body needed it to a certain point. Like if you step away from heroin for a day, it's not great either, but that didn't mean it was good for you, right? Like your body should be able to come back to normal, and then you get your phone and you're like excited. You're not agitated you didn't have your phone. You're excited to be at the gym. Like you said, you come to the next level and you're like, I just want to come to the next level. What do you want to do? Whatever. And it's like, but it's a healthy place. And so it's good stuff. So again, like all these things, we had volume and a bunch of things. And again, we're getting to the point where we're having a hard time recovering because nobody can be quiet.
I want to end it right there. Doc, I really, really appreciate this conversation. And I know it's going to add tremendous value to anyone that listens to this conversation. I'm really grateful. Where can the Progress Always Next Level tribe come and glean knowledge from you and come see you?
So we'll say the BioMed Center in Scottsdale. Most likely, I mean, I'll answer anybody's question at any time, you know, just because it's like, it's fun to shit talk, and you learn, you know, you really do learn more when people ask you questions. Then I don't want to sit and do consultations all the time. I mean, trust me, I hate being in my office, but it's like, I don't mind being in the public. I just get me on Instagram or do whatever, write me an email. And, you know, I'm good at setting up phone calls and doing stuff. And we have a bunch of global patients. So you can find me, you know, not on a Sunday, but you'll find me Monday to Friday. And I just appreciate the opportunity. We'll just keep having conversations.
Yeah, we'll definitely do this again. We could go so much further for so much longer, man. I'm grateful for you. For everybody.
Months worth of material.
Oh yeah.
Just talking.
I appreciate you, man. For everybody out there listening, remember, if you want progress always, you only need to do 3 things. Keep your promises, do hard things, and make yourself proud. Shout out to all of our sponsors who support the show. Take a look in the show notes for some great deals and opportunities there. And when you're ready to have that next level conversation and we can help you get back to normal, I'm going to change the language. I appreciate you, Doc. Help you get back to normal. And then we can talk performance. click that link and let's set it up. Appreciate you guys. Until next time, progress always.